Like to call the Plaquemines Parish Council meeting to order, July 14th, 2022, to order at 5 o'clock p.m. Machines are open for roll. Mr. Black, Bartholomew.
That machine is still closed. All right, I'm on. All right.
Let the record show all 9 council members are present.
We're going down to agenda item 4. I'm sorry. There is no executive session under item 2. Under agenda item 3, there are no proclamations. Agenda item 4, status report by the parish president.
Thank you, Ms. Toops. Good afternoon, guys. A few things to go over. We've been monitoring the weather for the last couple of days. As you know, there was a system that went into the Gulf that didn't form, but it also gave us enough rain. That's been a constant battle each day that we get excessive rains at certain times in certain areas. So we're just asking the people to monitor the news, monitor our social websites. We don't believe it was going to be initially as bad as it was intended to be. 10 to 15 inches of rain accumulated over those days. Now it's close to 5 to 10. So we're watching it. We're watching with the OC, and we've been monitoring with our weather, the National Weather Service. I spoke today with Nelson Capote about the road work on Highway 23. Was asking him, when will it be finished? When will the intersections be finished? The overlay is done on the roads north and south. We're now working on the intersections. They did start working back. I believe the crew went somewhere else. I'm not sure. But he did say they were back up and running. From that point, it will be a couple of more weeks, maybe a month or two more of construction. And then in between that, on weekends, they will be going down to one lane in different areas of the Highway 23 overlay to fix where the drains are. They will lay the asphalt on Saturday and close it till Sunday, that lane. This is in anticipation of those culverts being higher and them trying to levelize it. So there will be one lane on weekends in certain areas of Highway 23. So I just want people to know that, and that was reported to me through DOTD today. I asked him also about finishing up on Woodland Highway in front of the parks. And what's taking so long and what's the holdup there. And that was an indication that they were waiting on some kind of pipe that was ordered. And they just, I guess, received the pipe. So they'll be back actively working on that either this evening or tomorrow. So that's another project we'd like to see finished also. But again, we are receiving calls about the construction, and we're trying to give as much updates as we can. As we, go through this. Today, we honored Joey Horton. Joey was our ferry boats superintendent. He retired today with 34 years of service. So we want to tell him good luck. And he worked for the port, came to the ferry, and went back to the port through the ferry. So he's made full circle, and we appreciate his effort for Plaquemines Parish. Baseball ends tonight. All the playoff games are ending, and football sign-off is now all the way to August the 11th, I think they told me today. So I want to speak a little bit about grass cutting. I know that's a hot topic. I know it's a hot topic for you guys. It's a hot topic for us. And I want to give you the explanation of where we're at and where we're going and what's happening. Right now, as of today, I have 16 tractors in shops. So I'm operating on 11 tractors for the whole parish. And of those 11 tractors, I have 4 of them that are 15 footers. That cuts the most grass. So those are my biggest tractors. I only have 4 of them parish wide running. I have 2 ditch bank cutters. That's the one cuts the slopes on the ditch. I have that parish wide running. I have 3 A-booms, and that's the one that cuts in the ditch with the long arm. So those are what I have available at this present time. As I said, we've had 16 in the shop. We have a new vendor that we just sent a tractor to, trying to facilitate or expedite these repairs on these tractors. As you know, it's a computerized tractor that it gives us trouble. We get tractors out of a shop, we unload them to run them, and they break again, or they have another issue. So it has been an uphill battle trying to keep these tractors running. Now, if I had some tractors running, I could have some people on them. Right now, I have 1 superintendent, 1 foreman, a secretary, 19 tractor drivers. I have 1 diesel mechanic and 5 public groundskeepers. So that's what I have parish-wide. Now, if I had some machinery that allowed me to get some more grass cut, we could cut a lot more grass. I know you guys are fielding complaints. We're all fielding complaints. And it's a battle. Rain has not helped us. But from this day going forward, we're going to figure out a plan. We have talked with a couple of dealerships that do rent tractors, and we will look into that next week about renting tractors and getting tractors and availability to get them the grass cut. Right now, it is more important to have good machinery than it is to have employees. I have employees sitting around, either sitting around riding 0 turns or weed eating when they could be cutting a lot more grass. So you guys did pass an ordinance for $250,000 to order tractors. We ordered them in March of this year from Sunshine. 4 4-wheel, 100 horsepower tractors. They will not be here till January. So that's the dilemma that we're in about the new tractors. When someone says, didn't the parish give you money for tractors? Yes, they did, and they're ordered. And we're on state contract, so we're waiting to get those. They are supposed to be here in January. Now, I would hope that continues on that time frame, and we do. Of course, that's not the time when we need to cut grass. But from this point on, we have to find a solution. And our best case solution now is to try to rent some tractors, get some availability, and get these, we have the machinery, we need some tractors. So if we can get some rented tractors and hook these, the gangs and these bush hogs and these mowers up to these, we can get a lot more grass cut. And we're trying to do as much as we can. We get public requests all the time, every day. We know that the grass is high in the levee. We know it's high on the neutral ground. Well, we're going to have to find a way. And we're going to have to find a way of getting these tractors out the shop quicker. And if that means we have to expedite these tractors to some other locations, then we're going to have to do that. But I want you guys to understand where we're at, what we have, and what we're going to do going forward. Look, I know this is such a hotbed topic, and I know you guys get the constituents and you put them into us, and we try to get them and address them as fast as we can. So with that, guys, I wanted to, one more thing I want to mention before I close out. We did receive $783 million from the Corps to upgrade those levees. And there was a point where that may be a match involved for that $783 million. But I got a call from the colonel the night before last, and he indicated that as the legal team reviewed it, it will be no match. So all those monies will go to the levees to rebuild those up to 100-year protection in those areas. He also indicated that none of that money will be able to use for the pumping station. So all those monies will be directed to the levies. So, that was a good bit of good news we got from the colonel. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll end it and see if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Blink.
Sure. Kirk, do you think that it's, with these ongoing issues of the grass, do you think it's possible to flip the problem on its head? I've seen other municipalities implement programs, for instance, like No Mow May, right, where they're encouraging like wildflowers to grow in certain areas, which of course don't get nearly as high as the grass that obscures oncoming traffic and such. And would you be open to doing some pilot sites around the project, places that, aren't in the line of sight of traffic? But for instance, I notice these things growing sometimes in Empire or near Ironton. I'm a bit of a naturalist, so I'm looking for these kind of things, right? But if there's, a whole bunch of black-eyed Susans that are only going to get 2 feet high, it doesn't make any sense to run them over with a lawnmower, but just let those grow, and that's places that you don't necessarily have to hit, and that stuff will just naturally spread on its own. But I mean, are there any discussions within your administration about just kind of leveraging nature and trying to? Yeah. What's going on?
Well, I came up
I
with a
yield.
good
Nobody
idea
over
back
here
a couple of
cares.
years
Y'all-
ago.
y'all
I got
wanna
some
look at
goats,
doing something
and somebody
different.
stole them, so can't keep the goats. Kids today don't want to work.
I mean, unless we start thinking about this in a completely different way, where it's going to be the same old stuff. We got tractors in the shop, we can't do it. We got, people sitting around, whatever. I'm only thinking about it till right now. It's almost ridiculous. We get hundreds of miles of grass cut here, and we're not thinking about the simplest things or something new. And it's something that other municipalities do. I could send you a page of links. If y'all want some ideas. I tried to get traction with this my first year in office, put a big report together, and it didn't go anywhere because I got this kind of response where my colleagues just start talking and laughing and like it discount the idea before it ever gets off the ground. So I understand if you don't want to try. Yield.
We were not laughing, Rich, at your comments. We were laughing at how so many people in the queue, everybody wants to talk on this issue.
Mr. Black?
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to start by saying happy birthday, Mr. Epley.
I forgot that, thank you.
Glad you could spend your evening with us.
Where's the cake?
Yeah.
No cake from Kirk. See the love?
It looks like Benny's eating it.
All right, so with that said, I have a couple questions for you, Mr. President. One of the first ones, you mentioned you only have 5 public groundskeepers. Does that include the transfer of recreation employees that went over as public groundskeepers?
Let me check with Mr. Russo, because I only think we have one left.
Okay, yeah, he's shaking his head, yeah, so,
Some of them transferred and then applied for other positions in the parish.
okay.
So, and they qualified through the qualification list and were transferred.
But of the total that came over, how many?
Yeah, out of 8, we had gotten 4, and I think we're down to 2 now that actually transferred over from
And
recreation.
that's fine. I mean, people have their prerogative to transfer lateral if they want to, so good for them. All right, I just wanted to clarify that. The second issue is, so we talk about, grass cutting, and I think we had a solution, or somewhat of a solution at the budget hearing last year, in which we appropriated the balance of $300,000 minus the 170 from the state, give or take some change, to go ahead and go out for contract to be able to provide grass cutting services year-round from Russell Drive to Venice. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you went out to bid for that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you had a successful bid?
We had one bid.
Okay, and it was within the budget?
It was a little bit more than the budget, but I think we could have negotiated a little bit better, but I think we could have made it work or cut back when we didn't need the grass cutting as, in the winter months or something. If
Right.
they were scheduled for one, maybe we could have cut some of that back, but
Right.
we had the ability to do it, yes.
They would have cut grass pretty much on the neutral ground and the right-of-ways from Russell Drive to Venice
Correct.
year-round.
The Tidewater Road.
And that would have released all personnel and tractors to cut levees and other areas of interest?
Correct.
Why didn't you sign that contract?
The money was taken from me
For what?
for the grader.
From this council?
from the council to the grader. Yep.
Okay. Is, it's interesting. Is there any possibility to, since we still have the 170, because that money couldn't be taken, right?
That money could be used for outsourcing. The prom superintendent would like to put that money into capital to buy more tractors.
Okay, so let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
And the reason why I brought up the contract is, so has that, maybe this is a Jacques question, if that bid process, is it still open and valid? Although we didn't sign the contract, what I'm saying is, if we appropriated money as opposed to purchasing equipment, which would sit there or not be available until January or later, and supplement the 170, will we be able to contract the bid winner to come out and conduct those grass cutting services from Russell, at least from Russell Drive to Venice, to free up the tractors and tractor drivers to cut the other areas?
I don't have that answer, Miss.
We'd have to look at when the bid was done, and also, if you change too much of what was advertised in the bid, then you're gonna have to nullify it.
It's just the term, so it'd be the term would change, but the actual content of the contract would be the same, which would be, the right-of-ways as well as the median from Russell Drive to Venice.
I'll have to look into
Okay,
that.
I mean, it's just something I think that I would like you guys to
If we could-
look at and then bring it to this council, so if we can find funding as opposed to just putting it into assets that we can't even operate or won't be able to operate until next year, does us no good for storm season. I don't think a contract could come in immediately, like you had mentioned, and tackle this issue.
Well, they had the tractors at the first time I put it up for vote, but some people didn't go to vote for it. Then Scott came back trying to get y'all to vote for it. Y'all voted for it, cost us another 70,000. Then they didn't have the tractors.
Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about the tractors.
No,
I'm just talking about the contract
Yes, sir.
that we appropriated the funds for in the 2021 budget for the
Well,
2021
you
budget.
used tractors that we can't use till January. That's why we can't use them till January now.
They won't be here. But we tried to appropriate the money months before, and we got a no vote. I don't think we actually voted on it. I think we withdrew it because administration said they didn't want them at the time.
Yeah, so it wasn't on this
No,
council.
no, that's incorrect, Mr. Russo.
We voted on it.
Administration said, we didn't believe in the legislation that said we had to buy, you tell us to buy it at Sunshine. We wanted you to appropriate the money, and we would search and see who had the availability with tractors. Okay, that's what the administration said.
And I
then you
took
come
that
back and bought
out.
them anyway.
I took that out, Sunshine. I said, you could buy John Deere's anywhere you want.
No, I
That's what your crew
But it-
said they
it-
wanted.
but again, the legislation said John Deere. It didn't
Yeah.
say available track. It didn't say New Holland, Kubota. It didn't say.
They was available when I put the bid together and voted on it.
Sure about that? I thought they.
I'm positive
first bid had
about
the
it.
wrong tires or something was not correct on that. first-
No, they changed, that wasn't the first bid, because the crew told me what they wanted. I went and got prices, they had them available.
Right.
Then after we didn't vote on it, Scott went back to y'all, said we need them tractors, and we want this tire on it. The guy had told me before, he'll change the tire anyway, because what a tire costs for a bush hog,
And that caused the delay of months.
plus 70,000.
But, just getting back to my point, and that's a whole nother issue, is that I wish that we would have retained the contract, signed the contract, and went ahead and just had an annual contract to cut the medians and the right-of-ways. That would have alleviated a ton of these issues. And I'm not sure why you're not as vocal about it as you should be, Mr. President, but, I think that was a solution that we came up with in the budget hearings. I'm gonna close out, but I do want to, because if I'm not here, I want to thank David from Plenary for being here. I know you have an issue in Mr. Russo's district, but appreciate you guys doing the fill at Burmaster. That had some issues there with residents getting in and out, so appreciate that. That's all I have.
Ms. Newberry?
Yes, Mr. President. Happy birthday, Todd, by the way. I want to get this right. So you said the only machines operating right now are 4 15-footers, 2 ditch banks, and 3 A-booms? Am I missing anything
Yes,
else?
we have, right now, we have 11 tractors operating.
Okay, so can you tell me, can Can you tell me, what are the tractor drivers doing in the meantime that don't, since we don't have enough?
They're on zero turns, cutting right-of-ways, they're on weed eaters, they're on whatever we can do to mitigate some of the other grasses that we have, through right-of-ways and stuff, but they're working as much as we can.
Okay, and, so are y'all saying, we don't have a tractor mechanic to repair some of these tractors?
We have one, and I could let Scott answer that, but he just does basic mechanic. I don't think he's even a diesel mechanic.
Like a basic oil change or something like that?
We have one tractor mechanic, and he lives on the east bank. He operates all the way down to Venice and back across. And yes, we've been having problems with his truck, because we got an old truck that's 15 years old.
Do we have, any open jobs for that position by any chance? I know we have a lot of vacancies.
They all unfunded off the board.
They're unfunded? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Mr. LaFrance?
Yes, Mr. President. Help me help you. Several times at the meetings previously, at least we can go back 3 meetings, I asked that the grass in Port Sulphur ditch be sprayed. I know if it's sprayed, that'll give you 2 months, because Roundup killed for 6 weeks. Still today, it hasn't happened. The only thing I get from your director is, we working on it.
Well,
I mean, I need to, now, we have tractor drivers or tractor operators that don't have the tractors. Could you get somebody on a sprayer and promise me we're gonna have these ditches sprayed along Highway 23, say from Freeman's down to Port Sulphur School? It's starting to be a safety issue. When I went by Terry Shelley, the Johnson grass is so high, you really can't see the road. It's beginning to be a safety hazard. Could you promise me I can get that?
Mr. LaFrance, what I tell you right now is I will speak with the prom superintendent, see if we have some extra guys. We have a spray truck, we do. Now, I don't know if it went underwater at Ida or where it was, because it was usually parked by West Point Lahash. But I will make that commitment to you and speak with him personally and see if we can grab a couple guys. The problem too, Mr. LaFrance, and I'm not making excuses, the problem is we spray and it rains. And then we're back to square one. Okay, so we would like to have some good sunshiny days where we know that it would absorb some of that root killer. But I will make you this promise that I will speak with him in the morning.
But I'm looking at your director update, and I see areas have been sprayed. I'm wondering why my area, by asking so many times, why my area wasn't sprayed.
We moved the tractor there last week, a A-boom, to cut the ditch first, then spray it. You don't want to spray 6 foot of weed. We tried to cut the ditch first, but the tractor went down and sitting right there at the prong shop. The hydraulic hose busted. We went and put that one on there. We cranked it back up. The main hydraulic hose busted. Brad ordered another hydraulic hose. It takes a little bit to get it in. We had the machine there to cut the ditch and then spray, but the tractor went down, so. We're not trying to. If we spray tall weeds, you can spray up. The stuff goes everywhere. Next thing you know, we're going to have citizens fussing at us that we killed their grass, because you got to put it in the ditch. And yes, Brad and I did it last time, but we did have the tractor there, but it broke down, so.
Well, listen, I'm an old farm boy, and I could tell you how Roundup work. Roundup work is, the more coverage it has on a surface of leaf, the better it kills. So you'd really do better when you don't cut the grass and spray the leaves. That's how Roundup work.
That's it, Mr. LaFrance?
No, I'm waiting on an answer. Can I get it sprayed?
I just explained to you, I will speak with the prom superintendent and I'll give you an update tomorrow. I'll be with you at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay. And you'll see, you know where Terry Shelley lives.
I know exactly where he lives.
You'll see what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
talking about.
I'm right past it.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, I have some concerns, but they're not right now, but they're coming. The workers you have with Prime, we don't have any recreational people, but they are cutting the grass at the park, at David Park, religiously. It really looks great. The park is looking like it's supposed to look. But I am concerned once we get the machinery in, what's going to happen to the park? Because those people will have to go back on the tractors. And I know they won't be able to take care of the park like it is now. So that's something we need to really look at down the road and see what we can do to make sure that that park is kept up like it is, you know? So I don't know if you have a game plan on that.
Well,
with that or what else, but that's a
We'll
concern
try
that I
when we
have.
get new tractors.
Yeah, but I'm just saying this, but you try to plan ahead of things when it happens. You know it's gonna come, but it's just a matter of time to get ready for something to implement it, to maintain it. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Blank?
How many you went on?
Get Mr. Almond.
Yes.
He did a golf course.
Can we get an update with the ambulance department?
Wait,
Ambulance department, update on
Want
it?
to do an update on that? I'll give Mr. Epley,
Why do you out of here?
I'll defer to Mr. Epley.
Yes, sir.
We currently have 3 trucks operating in the parish, one on the east bank, 2 on the west bank, one's on the southern end, one's in Belchase. We have 5 trucks that need repairs. I went to meet with STS today, where 4 of our trucks are that are needing to be repaired and get out of the shop. I got in their faces and they committed to me that they would get them done and get them out for us. But the problem is we have old units, and just like everything else, just like the old air conditioners we have, they continue to break down, just like the tractors, they continue to break down because we've gone years without replacing these things. We do have money from Venture Global that we received. We do have enough to order 1 new ambulance. We have the specs put together. I got with Brenda earlier this week. We will be going out for public bid on those ambulance specs very soon. So hopefully we will be able to order a new ambulance. There is one company that has one that should be available this fall. So hopefully in a few months we'd be able to have a new one. But we do have old trucks. They are in disrepair, and we keep putting Band-Aids on them to try to keep them on the road. We also have issues with personnel. We're down. We've been down on personnel for quite some time. We had somebody retire earlier this year. We had somebody out with surgery. 2 people out with surgery, actually. We recently were able to recruit 2 new part-time people. So those part-time people will be taking their places on the trucks. But even this week, the EMS manager, Rachel, was working on the truck in Belchase because we didn't have anybody to cover the truck. So personnel's an issue. Old trucks is an issue. We don't pay enough money to attract anybody to come to work. We were advertising an EMT basic position at 9-something an hour. Nobody wants to do that at 9-something an hour. Archer study's almost done. I got with the guy from Archer. He came up with a recommendation. I told him that wasn't good enough. We went back and forth, and he agreed with me eventually. So we're going to have a recommendation from Archer here soon to have a new rates for our EMT basics and our EMT paramedics, and hopefully we'll be able to hire some people once that happens. Our revenue has been good with EMS. In fact, with the UPL money, we should probably be at like 1.3 million in revenue this year, which, 4 years ago we were at 300,000. So our revenue is up, and hopefully we'll be able to use some of that money for salaries to be able to hire some more people and keep some more trucks on the road.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, so I mean, the difference between 1.3 million and 700,000 is not much. So we keep talking about this Archer study, and I'm not sure exactly how, just because the Archer study says we should pay people instead of $13 an hour as an EMT, we need to pay them $20 an hour. Well, where are we going to get the money to pay them? And, I just go back to the proposition that failed on EMS last year. We're going to come back, and I'm still going back to the discussion about having a mid-year budget review. Maybe we can do that for Tommy's going away present, in August. But, I mean, I think.
I talked to him today about it, and he said
There are
I'll
dates
put it
set?
together. I'll talk to him again tomorrow and see if he'll give me a firm date.
Yeah, because I mean, what the Archer studies are going to do, and I agree that we need to have, an assessment done on salaries. It's gonna put us into a corner where now the salary is gonna, be raised, and we don't have the money to pay for it.
We will have the money to pay for it.
Through what?
We've got 54 vacancies in the parish. That pays for it right there. I mean, we're down to about 250 employees in the parish. There were 500 in 2019.
Understand, but when we had the same amount of vacancies and before your administration took office, we actually put a freeze on hiring people because we didn't want to have the administration propose to us at a budget hearing to lay people off. Because just because we have vacancies doesn't mean we can pay, because we have to pay operational costs and other things. So if you're saying right now that, hey, we have 54 vacancies, that money's going to be able to fund to hire everybody, well, okay, let's see it in November.
Okay.
I'm not arguing with you, Todd. I'm just saying that
But
we need a.
it's also, the concept too is the Archer study's designed, though, we could keep the people that we do have. And that's the biggest problem that we have, that we're losing people, good people who have years to get a better job. So this is why we've done the study, and I hear what you're saying, Bo, and I do understand your concerns, but it's getting to a point where we're just trying to retain what we have.
I agree, and I'm not, listen, I think you, Todd, and you took my point wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you. We need to pay people to retain good people, period. I get it. However, the council, as the budgeting authority, needs to figure out where we're to get the money from. And, unfortunately, all three mills from all three propositions failed. So we have to figure out a way to come up with money.
Mr. Roussel?
Yes, the same issue that I'm talking about is the grass cutting behind on Meadowvana Park. I'm not sure if the Meadowvana Park is gonna have it baled for hay this time or what, but I continue to get people on the street complaining about the rodents and the grass not being cut. We need to at least cut it between the pond and the houses. I mean, something's got to be done to alleviate these people having to suffer with these rodents.
Yes, sir. We do have someone on Rose Street that has made numerous public requests, and we will get to that. That's important. I spoke with Jody Coyne. He is willing to help out if we even gave him a tractor to cut the grass. We would like to bale that hay if we could. It's just got to dry out. But we do understand the concerns of those residents, and we are going to get that as soon as we can.
Well, there's one of the neighbors saying if you pay him, he'll cut it.
Yeah, he wants to charge us too.
Of course he wants to charge, but he wants to get it cut.
That's it? You done?
I've been done.
Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, I do concur with Councilman Black about we need to pay our employees, without a doubt. And I hope that we can, the administration can find recurring revenues to support that, not a one-time deal, because we can't survive like that. And I'm just hoping that it works with that in mind, and I think we can survive. If not, we'll be in bad way with personnel, just like you said.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda. Oh, come on. Make sure y'all ask y'all questions to us.
Rob Forshey, 116 New. EMT, we'll start off with that. What is the reason that we, as a parish council, have not moved these EMT and ambulances under the hospital? That's where they should be, just like the ferries should be under the port. The ambulances and the EMTs and the medical professionals should be under the hospital, okay? We pay taxes for that. We pay dearly. $6 million a year, I believe, is what the millage is, okay? All right. Why, I don't know. I don't guess anybody wants to answer that question. Second thing, pay. The pay that individuals in the parish receive may or may not be adequate as per the private industry. But what is more than adequate is the benefit package. And why this parish does not want to sell the benefit package that the individuals who work for this parish receive is beyond me. I just don't understand it. I don't understand the reason for not putting a benefit package together that has dollar value, and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to bring that up. Nobody wants to say, hey, you might be making $14, $15 an hour, $13 an hour, but you have a $5, $6, $7 an hour increase due to the benefits that you will receive if you stay with the parish long enough to receive the benefits, to receive the retirement, to receive the medical benefits that the parish pays. Parish pays a large percentage of the medical benefits that are received by all of the employees. But this is not sold to anyone. And I've talked to several employees of this parish, and they agree that they have not been given, they don't really even know the dollar figure of what their benefit package is worth. And why we won't do that, I have no clue. But that's another thing that I think needs to be looked at. I guess anybody can answer that. I'd appreciate an answer. Thank you.
Mr. Blank?
Sure, this is the first part of the question. Rob, I don't know if you want to stick around. But so, for instance, the hospital, right? Why aren't the ambulances at the hospital? So this council approves the representatives for the hospital commission, right? The hospital board. And that happened at the beginning of our term, right? And so there's a lot going on at the beginning of the term, and it just seemed like you have the ability to make that an issue this election cycle, you know? But I would suggest looking at what kind of revenue is coming in from some of the sales tax around Venture Global. It might make sense to keep it housed within the parish. It might make sense to push it all to the hospital because they might have a small bump in revenue as well. But I mean, that's generally why the hospital board representatives are picked more or less right after we get in office, and nobody really thinks about rethinking how that whole thing will work by maybe putting new blood on that board or imploring their potential representative, their representative on the hospital committee to maybe shake things up a little bit. But that's the nuts and bolts of how that works and why that is like it most likely is, right?
Right. Well, I understand that. I understand that there's a hospital board, and y'all have the authority to control that board. And y'all are the only ones that have the authority to control that board because they're not elected.
No.
They're not elected officials.
So we simply, again, I told you the cheat sheet there. So we appoint people.
Right.
They have minds of their own, right? They make decisions. That's a totally separate entity. I could talk to them like I could talk to anybody else, but I can't persuade them to make a decision because I'm on the council or something like that. But what I'm getting at, though, is the next election cycle, all these folks up here, whoever's going to be new, has the ability to appoint somebody to the hospital board. And if you want to make that an issue this election cycle, you can. You have that ability.
So you appoint this person to the board, to the hospital board. You also have the authority to unappoint them to the hospital board.
No, they
So
serve a
you-
4-year term. They don't serve at our leisure, as far as I know. They don't.
So
What's that?
They're at will. We can,
Okay.
you can do an introduction to.
I was going to say,
I'm not sure if that's accurate.
how in the world can you appoint somebody to a position and then not have the authority to remove them from that position that you appoint them to?
We did
That
with
just
the-
makes no sense to me.
That's the case with the Coastal Zone Committee, right? They're appointed to several-year term, right?
Yeah, they're cause.
Maybe we need to introduce an ordinance that gives y'all the power to do that, if that is the facts. Because something needs to happen And we're not getting, the parish, the citizens of this parish is not getting our money's worth out of this so-called hospital that we have.
You asked the question, he answered it, it's not a back and forth, you had so
Okay.
many minutes and have to go to the next person.
All right, thank
Mr. Roussel?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Fauché. I think that some effort should be made to see if the hospital board could take over the ambulance service. They do have a lot of funding. However, on the appointments of the board, it's my recollection that they are appointed by the board but can only be removed for cause. And so if one of the lawyers over there will Google that and give us an answer in the next 5 seconds, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Val?
Donald Valley. Mr. Roussel, I agree with you. In light of global venture, theoretically, I understand they're buying a new ambulance. Are they paying for this new ambulance for the parish?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, sir. Part of their emergency response plan
Well,
requires them to provide
I
some
think you
money.
guys, as pro-business people that want to bring business to this parish, probably need to tell all these people coming down here to do business, the major workforces down here, we need to have the ambulance service here for them if they're going to be doing business here, especially if they're paying for it. Anyway, let me go really quick. I'm not going to ask him a question. I'm going to
Ask it to me.
I'm not going to ask it. I must say it. When I was on the LLT board, we had a $30 million contract every year to cut grass, so I know what he's going through. If you want to call Mike Taylor, he's the executive director. He negotiated all those contracts with all his grass cutters. Ramelli Janitorial Service is a grass cutting bit. They just lost their contract with Kenner. So they're available to do work at one time. Y'all were talking to them. At the same time, I cut 250 acres. I've got 4 tractors, 5 riding lawnmowers, and all kind of equipment. And I can't find mechanics to do it. I had to go out there and look for new mechanics to do our repair work. And it's not so much that some of our contractors are bad. They can't find a labor like we can't find a labor. So we have the same deal. But you need to get off your ass and go look for them. I know you do a good job. But at the same time, we've now relegated, we don't just cut grass. We spray poison, a lot of poison. And we got, where we used to cut grass, we probably spray about a third to a half of our property, just because we don't have the manpower to cut it, and we can't afford the fuel that's going to cut it. You all haven't talked about fuel, or what's getting ready to happen. But I go find some maintenance. The other maintenance guy, go find Fred LeBlanc. He's expanded his staff now. He's grown to 15 people working here. When he started with 2, when I helped him put his business together 2 years ago. They all can do work for you. But you got to get off your ass and go find these people. They're not coming to you. They're busy now. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 4A, update by charter directors.
We went through all that already.
Item 5, bids and advertisements.
5A, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing oil, grease, lubes, et cetera, for a period of 6 months for use parish-wide. Councilmember Koknovich.
I'll offer as for a second.
Good in Globo? All
I would prefer that you take C second because.
right, never mind.
I'll offer as for a second. Second by Mr. Roussel. Any questions? Machine's open. Passes 9-0. B.
Item 5B, a resolution authorizing the purchasing agent to advertise for and dispose of surplus vehicles and equipment on an as-is basis through public auction conducted by Henderson Auctions. Councilmember Koknovich.
I'll offer as for a second. Second by Mr. Bartholomew. Any questions? Machine's open. Oh, Mr. Roussel.
On an as-needed basis, will a list be provided to us before the auction goes?
On an as-is basis.
As is.
Talking about the equipment.
Right. You want to, so when we see a list, it's always my understanding that we had to approve a list to sell.
Got some pictures of some in the back. A list of.
Generally, in order to sell the property, y'all have to declare it surplus.
Right. But we're not declaring it surplus in here, are we?
Mm-hmm.
With the list that's attached is what, that we're gonna, somebody want to answer or not?
Is there a list in there? I don't have it in the packet.
We have a list, but on an as-needed basis. In other words, is this for one sale? The list that's attached?
It is just what's attached here,
So
Mr.
one list, it's not gonna be on an as-needed basis
It
6
will
months from now?
come, it'll come back to you if there's
Okay.
something else that needs to be
She
auctioned.
said as-is basis.
I know that's what I'm trying to have.
The truck,
As this the material, equipment.
the truck broke down or whatever on this list.
My appreciation, as is means, in other words, you're not warranting, when you're selling these things at auction, you're not warranting to people, you're selling them on an as-is basis. But, and I think, and you're saying there is an attachment that indicates which property is being declared surplus.
Thank you, machines are open. Passes 8 with 1 no vote.
5C, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing March Master MM2MX KC with cutter and accessories and trailer or equal for a period of 1 year for use parish-wide and otherwise provide the respect thereto. Councilmember Cognovich.
I'll off ask for a second. Second by Mr. Harbaugh. Any questions? Mr. Black?
This is for the purchase of an asset?
Yes.
How much is it?
We voted,
When will it be in? 300 days. Okay, so let me explain something to everybody up here. We're gonna spend how much again? For something that will not be able to be used for 300 and something days. Everybody's good with that. Everybody's okay when we say we're gonna appropriate all this money for something that we can't use for 300 and something days. However, we can sign a contract, Mr. Valet, with Romelli, who won the bid for $300,000 to spend to cut our grass. Yeah. No, not this bid. The bid, when we went out to bid in March to cut the grass year-round on the medians and right-of-ways from Russell Drive to Venice, to relieve personnel and assets to go cut grass in other places. That's enough money to cover the entire contract. However, what we're gonna do possibly here is spend that same amount of money to buy a piece of equipment that won't be ready for 300 days, that does us no good during the storm season. So, no offense, Mr. Helmers, I am not voting for this because I think that money can be used to eliminate issues and problems that we have today. No offense.
I understand.
Let me make a statement, Mr. Black. I agree with you. I agree with you. This money is Go Mesa money. I cannot use it for anything but coastal stuff. This money is extra money that was funded through Go Mesa.
No.
This is yes, it is.
It might be
So-
Go Mesa. Go ahead, go
So,
ahead.
Okay.
So,
But I can't-
can we get a
I
legal
can't take the
interpretation
Go
on whether,
Mesa
on
money.
whether a levee that has 4 foot of grass is not a coastal issue?
I can't take a Go Mesa money and use it for.
So I'm asking a legal question. Is a levee a coastal issue?
I would have to research as far as whether it's,
Because I would probably say,
but maintenance.
you can
of the levee-
articulate it that it's a coastal issue.
Maintenance
So
of
when
the levee.
grass, yeah, so when grass is 3 foot high on a levee, right? So maybe we don't use that money for that contract, but we do another one to cut the levees to relieve those guys who are on the levees and those equipment on the levees to go do the medians. You flip it. So it's tough to appropriate money, that amount of money, to not deal with an issue that is facing us right now, today, as storms approach. How much that?
If we'd like to defer it and we get a legal opinion.
Yes.
Okay. And we deferred it for 2 more weeks, another 2 more weeks in storm season.
We'll be glad to get a legal.
All right. That's all I'm saying.
item deferred.
Well, unless Mr. Russo wants to.
Mr. Roussel?
I do. Let me hit the mic, please. I want to agree with Mr. Black. Mr. Black, you made an excellent argument. I want to thank you for that, and that saved me a lot of breath. But I think that Go Mesa money can be used for maintenance issues such as coastal levees and.
And as you agree with me, Mr.
I agree with you. Thank you, sir.
How that tastes in your mouth?
Mr. Blink? Mr. Blink?
Sure, the way that Go Mesa Act is written, up to 10% of the money can be used for coastal infrastructure, right? Levees, floodgates, pumping stations, that kind of thing. It's not all of it, but some of it can be used. there might be a little bit more discretion with the parishes. The state gets a share, the parish gets a share, et cetera, right? Yield. If we do move forward with this, I would love to see a position attached to it so it could every single day be maintained, be clearing drainage canals, be cutting the grass, on the toes of the levees, et cetera, and we could really be getting the most out of that machine. Yield.
Next item, please. If anybody has a beer liquor license, cue in. Mr. LaFrance?
Yes, I have Ty Win 27910 Highway 23, Post Alpha, Louisiana.
That's it?
Yes.
Mr. Alborough?
Circovich Fuel Center, 7876 Bell Chase Highway.
That's it? Do I have an offer?
So often.
Offered by Mr. LaFrance, second by Mr. Alborough. Any questions? Machines are open. Mr. Alamy? They passed 9-0. Gonna defer B, 7B.
Agenda item
7C.
7C, Kyle Fleming, new modular in a floodplain zoning district, 21038 Highway 23, Point Celeste, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance.
So often.
Mr. LaFrance offers their second. I'll second. Any questions? Machines are open. Ms. Newberry?
I believe this is part of the piano keys that we're trying to purchase. And from what I understand, I think Mr. Sanders has sent out an email pertaining to this. Are we going to allow this to happen as we're trying to move forward with the purchase of this property? Does anybody have an answer?
I spoke to the parish attorney, our parish attorney, and he stated no matter that Venture Global is no matter that Sanders or the Porters are trying to obtain that property, that we don't have the right to stop this, to stop this. We don't have the right.
So he's been avoiding this, and now he's going to move forward with this, knowing that once he puts, a piece of equipment on the property. Oh, yeah, please, Mr. Fleming, please. I didn't know that.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Kyle Fleming.
Mr. Fleming, from what I understand, they've been trying to contact you about the property that you've been, have you had any contact with the real estate or any attorneys pertaining to your property?
I got a letter in the mail yesterday, day before yesterday. I tried to call a guy today and haven't heard back from him yet.
Is that the first letter that you received?
That's the first letter that I received.
Well, I could tell you about the contact from the port, because there's another landowner in that has told he's never been contacted, but other people say they contact him. And he said he wants to talk to Mr. Sanders himself.
I'm done.
Mr. LaFrance?
Oh, I'm good.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, Ms. Newberry, I understand your concern, however, I don't buy it. Because I don't know Mr. Fleming, as some people in District 105 may think. However, there's been multiple council members in contact with Mr. Fleming on Facebook. So for the port to say they can't get in touch with Mr. Fleming is ridiculous to me. If they wanted to get in touch with him, they can get in touch with him. So I don't think he's avoiding anybody. Huh? Right, I don't think he's avoiding anybody. So for that email to come across that Mr. Fleming's been avoiding the port, Miss Nielsen actually reached out to me for his number. I didn't have his number. I was able to obtain it.
Yeah, I don't know any.
So I'm not sure why that's even an issue at this point. So I'll rest, but to say that, I do have
Yeah, I
an
was
issue
just
with the porch.
questioning the fact that I know his property is part of the piano keys. I didn't know what the, how you have been, if you have been addressed. That's why I was asking those questions.
And well, and I question the fact that since 2015, when Mr. Roussel was de facto chairman, because we didn't have a port commission at the time, and I became the port chairman in 16, and when we tried to get the port to obtain these piano keys, since then, they went and contacted the landowners. And it's 2022. So this piano key issue to me is a whole another can of worms. So with that, I'll rest, and thank you for coming, Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming.
Appreciate your
I
time.
didn't buy this property like 10, 15 years ago. This was all within the last year or two.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fleming.
Hold on, don't go nowhere.
Mr. Roussel? Mr. Roussel?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Mr. Black. The port's failure to contact you is a terrible situation because you've already moved forward and doing what you wanted to do. But I gave the port and the real estate agents your permit, which has your contact number on it. So for them to just now be getting to you, it's a bad situation for all of us. But you are aware that we are trying to acquire the property.
Yeah.
And are you gonna be amenable to trying to sit down and settle a sale, or do you know?
I'm not sure exactly what you're,
What I'm saying, do we have to move in an expropriation case? Or are you willing to sit down? It has no bearing on your permit today. You're gonna get a permit today, I feel pretty comfortable that you're gonna do that. My question is, so when I go to the port board meeting, I know where at least some communication with you has been today, unlike what we've heard today that they can't contact you.
well, y'all got my phone number now, right?
You got a registered letter today, didn't you?
Not a registered letter, no.
Well, you're getting one as soon as they can deliver it. You did receive a letter though, correct?
I received a letter, yeah, it wasn't a registered.
Okay.
Ladder and Bloom.
Ladder and Bloom, correct.
But you all willing to sit down and talk to them and listen to whatever they gotta say, right?
I mean, I'll sit down and talk to them and see what they got, you know, have to cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Well, we just want to know where you stand because the
Mr.
obligations that we try to meet, that's all. And I know you trying to meet your obligations.
Mr. Blank?
Sure, Kyle. And look, my apologies if I held this up last time, but you know, here it is behind the scenes. The port's making all kinds of efforts to expropriate properties here. You know, I don't know if we need to look at that again. It doesn't seem like there's no reason for that at this point in time. Buying up all kinds of property, taking out of commerce, whatever else. But the email is saying that the expectation is once you receive the letter, you'll choose not to proceed with installing a modular home. In the event he does proceed, it doesn't necessarily slow down the port's acquisition efforts. On our ultimate acquisition, Mr. Finley will either one, elect to take the modular home with him, or two, be paid a market value for the modular home, after which the port will dispose of it necessarily. And so that's like the kind of communications that we're getting from the port staff and such, and we don't want our citizens to go walk off of a cliff. You know, I mean,
Well, that information would be helpful if I was getting that since I own the property.
I think that wherever these transactions happen, whether they're registered with whoever, that, you know, hey, did you know you're buying this property? Or maybe the real estate agent should disclose that, which, you know, Ladder and Bloom is trying to expropriate some of these properties for us or buy these properties for us, and they've got for sale signs up across the street from you. So there's definitely some mixed messages going on there. And it's one of the reasons why we're looking at our port leadership lately, because stuff like this continuously falls through the cracks where you get a letter the day you're supposed to come in here and deal with this. You know, it's just constant stuff like that, little stuff like that all the time. And here it is, you know, we're having to explain to residents like property's gonna be bulldozed in a few months or something. But
Well, we talking about a permit right now.
yep,
and
all right. But I just want you to know
Mr. Roussel?
that the possibility is there that a governmental entity will come and take your land from you and your improvements, and that, you know, just like a car, when you buy a modular home, the value decreases as soon as you move it off the property, and it's a risk for you. So I want to just speak my piece to you, that you know what we know up here. So I yield.
Any other questions? Machines open. Passes 8-1.
Thank you.
Agenda item 8, ordinances and resolution, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. We have several. The first one is for Councilmember Cognovich, an ordinance to amend the 2022 Road Maintenance Fund operating expenditure budget, road maintenance, public right-of-way department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The second one is for Councilmember Black, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan for the renovations animal shelter project in the 2022 general fund revenue budget and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. For Councilmember Arbro, an ordinance to amend and reenact Section 4-15 of the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The following two will be for Councilmember Roussel. An ordinance to amend the 2022 general fund manpower structure and operating expenditure budget, interim employee training department, and the flood control general department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan, drainage environmental assessment, Medal of Honor Park project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And the last is for Councilmember Blink, a resolution to appoint replacement members to the Plaquemines Parish Tourist Commission Board and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Can you also read 9B, because I'm going to defer
Sure.
to that one, it's going to fall if I don't read it.
For Councilmember Black, a resolution conditionally approving the plan of re-subdivision of a portion of Tract 5E, Section B of Belle Chase Plantation into Cypress Park subdivision, Phase 2C. Phase 2C containing lots 241 through 285, all without cost to Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Nance, 9B is deferred again. 9B is deferred again.
Next item, please.
9, ordinance and resolution on second reading and final passage. 9A, ordinances and public hearings pursuant to Article 6, Section 6.01E of Plaquemines Parish Charter. Item 1
Is
is
deferred.
deferred. Item 2, an ordinance to grant U.S. Army Corps of Engineers a right of entry for disposal of dredge material on Grand Prairie Levee District lands and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Mr.
I
Bartholomew.
offer.
Mr. Bartholomew offers there a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any questions?
That's the pipeline, right? Mr. Helmer? That's the pipeline you have going over,
That's,
and they've had the bridge,
that bridge collect?
yeah,
Yes.
that's the pipeline.
That's the
Yeah.
disposal area where they're gonna go through
Right.
and widen and clean that stuff out.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions? Audience, machines are open. Passes 9-0. B is deferred.
C, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan,
Drawn.
Drainage Empire Boat Harbors Project, and otherwise.
E is withdrawn.
Withdrawn.
E is withdrawn.
D, a resolution appointing blank as the Assistant
Bird,
Secretary.
huh?
Deferred.
Deferred.
E, a resolution approving the request for a conditional use to Vertex Refining Myrtle Grove LLC for a refining, processing, and storage of oily water facility in a floodplain zoning district located on a certain tract of land designated as the southern portion of parcel number 1621209, East Ravenna Road, Alliance, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, Section 5, Township 16 South, Range 25 East, all in accordance with application number 2022-494 dated May 10th, 2022. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered.
Mr. LaFrance offers there a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bartholomew. Mr. Roussel.
Is anybody here from Vertex?
Can you come up to the mic, please?
I wouldn't want you to sit out there for nothing.
You feeling better today?
my feet are not communicating with my brain. I had a spinal decompression, and Councilmember LaFrance knows that I couldn't make it the last time because I couldn't travel.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
I have just one quick question. I noticed in the process that you're going to have some materials that are going to be extracted. Are they going to be put in an injection well somewhere?
No, they're actually, we are not processing, and this is being processed at Plaquemine Processing and Recovery. And they have a water treatment plant there that material that's extracted, which they extract, not us.
So what do you do then?
We collect the oil. It mainly has a lot of water in it. It's a distressed hydrocarbon.
Right, when I was reading the performer industrial questionnaire,
Yes.
it talked about extracting the oil in the water and taking the oil somewhere. This is animal fats as well? No?
No.
Just strictly oil and
Yeah,
waste?
the animal fats are a future project.
Oh, I'm getting ahead of you.
You haven't heard that one yet.
I'm sorry I brought that up. So there's an injection well that's coming?
No, there's no injection well. There's nothing hazardous.
Okay.
We collect oil, water, what we call distressed hydrocarbons. And we put them in our tanks at this site. Just like oil and vinegar, the water settles out largely in about a month. There's still water left, but we then take that water to Plaquemine Processing and Recovery, and they add a deemulsifier to remove the rest of the water. We take back the oil, they treat the water.
All right, thank you.
There's no resid in it like used motor oil.
I was talking about animal fat that someone had mentioned to me that was going to be processed there.
I know we had a vessel where we skim all. We have an internal system that separates the oil and water, goes through a filter system, and Coast Guard gives us permission to put it back, so.
Yeah, Plaquemine Parish and Recovery, I'm aware, used to process the residual from chicken fat that came from the Diamond Green plant. Has nothing to do with us.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Newberry?
John, it's nice meeting you. I hope you're
Same-
feeling a lot better since your surgery.
Same here, thank you.
So the extraction and, is that trucking? Is that through pipeline or?
Yes, we have 3 trucks, which are approximately 6,500 gallons. We have 2 vacuum trucks, which are 90 barrels each, so I guess that's about 3,600 gallons. So we go out and collect the oil. Most of the oil is at refineries, at places that don't want to deal with it. And we go and pick that up and bring it to our tanks. Let the water decant out, and then send the oil through a pipeline to Plaquemine Processing and Recovery.
Thank you so much for your information. It's nice
Sure.
meeting you.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, I'm supporting this. I just want to just put it in layman's terms. I mean, it's very simple. You're basically a recycling plant. You're taking old material that otherwise would not be used, and you're capturing hydrocarbons that can be reused and separating that from the water, and then taking the water and recycling that, period.
Treating the water.
Treating the water.
Correct.
Okay, so,
You've got it. This is Vertex Energy's business. We're a public company. Everything is transparent about us.
yeah, no, I know. I'm just, because you use a lot of big words.
Right.
I'm just putting it in layman's terms of, it's a recycling facility.
And this is a first.
Well, thank you for that.
We've leased this site for 8 years and not done anything on it. We've leased this site because it's strategic to us. It has all the infrastructure already there. It used to be an old ethanol plant built in 1985. So it has tanks, it has offices, locker rooms, maintenance buildings, fire water loops. We're on mile 62 of the river. We have a Army Corps permit to build a dock. We have an agreement with CHS to bring rail onto the site. Natural gas is there, plenty of electricity. So this is a first step in getting our feet into that plant and with future plans to do something a lot bigger.
Thank you. Mr. LaFrance?
After you treat the water, where does it go?
Blackman Processing and Recovery has a permit to put it into the Mississippi River, meeting specs. It goes through a microbial digestion. First, it goes through a flotation, then microbial digestion. It's aerated, so basically microbial bugs eat the bad stuff.
And them bugs pretty expensive.
No, the bugs are groomed, raised to eat this, okay? They love it. If you take it away from them, they die. So, I mean, there are all kinds of microbes in the world that digest stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And these are made to digest the tiny bit of oil that's in that water.
Mr. Blink?
Sure. What were discussions like within the company when talking about the flood risk of that facility?
Yeah, so we had a lot of vibrant discussions. In fact, John Helmer knows that I met with him this morning at 9 o'clock. I owe it to him for being here. I didn't know the meeting got moved to here. I thought it was at the other campus in Bell Chase. I said, I'll see you tonight. He said, you know, it got moved. I said, no, I never got informed. So I'm here, thankfully. But, yeah, I had a meeting with him. We went over the progress. And we're not worried at this point in time. Because the plan is going to be designed, is going to be largely a new design. Anything we do there would be raised sufficiently on concrete pads to circumvent any issues with storm surge. The storm surge was a 100-year event. It can happen again in 2 years. We know that. But we're very happy to hear about the progress of the levee to the west of us. Very happy to hear about the new funds here today. I heard about that this morning, that y'all don't have to match. And, you know, I anticipate by this time next year, the base will be in and will be protected at 12 to 14 feet. So I take that message back to my leadership team, and I expect to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. LaFrance.
How many employees doing this construction?
During construction, I'll say 25, 30. We use Gucci One Fabrication, who's Bell Chase. We use Bayou Electric, I think officially their office is in Harvey. We use All Glass, which is Bell Chase. We contract with OMI, which is Bell Chase. There are emergency response. You know, we have to have a spill prevention, control, and countermeasures plan. We have to have a facility risk plan, all of which has been filed with the EPA. We contract with OMI, Oil Mop Inc. If we have an issue, I can go down the road. We're using a lot of Bell Chase resources.
How many employees doing operation?
6.
6.
We start with 6.
You want to throw out that salary?
What's our salary?
Yeah, do you want to throw it out? Do you-
We already have people earmarked training on trucks.
Mhm.
We have for a month because I thought I was going to be here a month ago, right? But we've already purchased the equipment. Yeah, we're just under $30 an hour.
Pretty good.
Truck drivers,
CEO with a hazard endorsement?
yes. And trained to transfer across water. Because sometimes we go pick up in a refinery off of a barge, for example. And the employment market is tough. I agree. It's, you know, if you have to pay that much to get a truck driver and keep them.
That's it, Mr. LaFrance?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Machines are open. Mr. Blink? Mr. Blink? Passes 9-0.
Thank you, and I hope to see you in the future about these other projects. You know, This was a good session for me to know what you're looking for in a project. Our other projects are going to be $500 million to over $1 billion.
Have you had any interaction with the port?
No. Why? No. Okay. I get it. I was here the whole time.
Thank you. Next item, please.
9F, an ordinance to amend the 2022 manpower structure and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Kognovich.
I'll offer as for a second. Second by Mr. Roussel. Any questions?
Yeah,
Electrician, Mr. Bartholomew.
that's for beginning salary for the master electrician?
Is that, I'm sorry, what, beginning salary then? I'm not, that, 32,857?
That's for
Yeah,
beginning
yes,
salary?
sir, that is the starting salary for a
I
master.
don't think that's enough. That's,
No, sir, it's not.
I think you need, how much you need? There's no sense of playing around with this.
We can't set,
I don't,
It has to go through civil service in order.
But you need to tell them they need to up that, because you're not gonna get anybody.
You go meet with her this time.
I don't have a problem doing that.
Any other questions? Machines open. Passes 9-0.
9G, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation for the Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Department and to amend the General Fund 2022 operating revenue and expenditure budgets, Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Kognovich.
I'll offer as for a second. Second by Mr. Black. Any questions? Machines are open.
Councilmember.
Passes 9-0.
Nine H, an ordinance to amend, to make technical corrections to ordinance 22-62 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer as for a second. Second by Mr. Roussel. Any questions? Machines are open. Passes 9-0.
9I, a resolution requesting authorization by the Plaquemines Parish School Board to use the Belle Chase High School Auditorium to show a documentary film entitled Iron Shaped Iron on July 26, 2022 at 6 p.m. and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
Mr. LaFrance, you offer?
So often, but it says iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens, I'm sorry.
Yes, so often.
Mr. LaFrance offers. There a second?
I'll second. The school board needed encouragement for this?
Mr. Black, seconds. Any questions?
It's about a documentary that we did, me and Mr. Richie Blank, we did a documentary over the Ironton community and the PLT property up there. So it's a documentary that we did, and we're gonna show it at Belle Chase one night, and the next night we're gonna show it at Post Alpha YMCA.
I withdraw my second if Mr. Blank wants a second.
It's not important. No, it's fine. Just much kudos to John Ritchie, the filmmaker, and then the residents of Ironton, of course, for participating.
It's a real good documentary. I encourage everybody to go see it. And Mr. Blank did a real good job.
Thank you.
You owe me dinner tonight.
Any other questions? Machines are open. Passes 9-0.
Item 9J, an ordinance to amend and as amended, readopt section 7-23 of the Parish Code of Ordinances and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
Mr. France, you offer?
Yes, so often.
France offers. Any second? I'll second. Any questions?
I have a question from the Parish Attorney's Office. I thought that it was being offered with changes where it would add that it would go into effect upon signature by the president. Is that possible to add it?
Say that again?
That would go into effect. Resolution.
Doesn't everything?
No, actually,
All ordinances already go into effect when the president signs it.
Was that the one that Rennie offered changes on? I was confused.
I never got changes.
Okay, I might be talking about the wrong one. I'll withdraw the question.
Thank you. Any other questions?
You the one who did the ordinance.
Overruled.
Machines open.
Councilmember Newberry? Thank you.
Passes 9-0.
Item number 10, approval of minutes from the June 23rd, 2022 regular meeting.
I'll off ask for a second. Second by Mr. Roussel. Any questions? Machines are open.
Council,
Passes 9-0.
Item 11, new business. A, introduction of ordinances wherein suspension is being sought. 1, a resolution authorizing partial final settlement of Plaquemines Parish Government versus MAP Construction LLC, ABC Insurance Company, Travelers Casualty and Surety Company, Seisler, Thompson Brown Architects, Project Design Group LLC, and XYZ Insurance Company, matter number 025-61741B, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Black.
Offer.
Mr. Black offers that second. Second. Any questions on the suspension? Machines are open on the suspension. Passes 9-0. Can you read the ordinance again? Resolution?
A resolution authorizing partial final settlement of Plaquemines Parish Government versus MAP Construction LLC, ABC Insurance Company, Travelers Casualty and Surety Company, Seisler, Thompson Brown Architects, Project Design Group LLC, and XYZ Insurance Company, matter number 025-61741B, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer.
Mr. Black offers that second. Second by Mr. Alborough. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Jacques. Y'all did a good job. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Only over.
Call a question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Machines open. Passes 9-0. 11 bill be deferred.
C, District 8 update. Councilmember Blank.
Sure, the Highway 11 shaving, this might be fifth time or so. I've asked for, I've seen some spray paint showed up, just wondering, Scott, if there might be an update or some action coming along. There's some spots that are like breaking axles on boat trailers. People are starting to go out the other lane into oncoming traffic and stuff. It's becoming a little bit of an issue. There's 2 spots that are really, really bad. We're not talking about making people comfortable, just making people safe.
Okay, well, we'll get together, mark some spots, and try to get down there with our manpower and try to take care of it.
If y'all want to just have the Bobcat hooked up with the machinery and set it there for 2 days, I can handle it. I'm happy to get it knocked out, but it's there's 2 spots that there's a lot of traffic there with oyster trucks and stuff, so there's a lot of load on the road, and again, just people are going into the opposite lane of travel.
Yes, sir.
All right, we covered some of the other things today. I'll yield those.
D, District 1 update, Mr. Bartholomew.
Do we have any status on the Breakaway Park area for flood protection? Any new things and new changes?
What did he say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Breakaway Park flooding area, is there new changes? Everything's still the same?
Not yet. We still getting some information together through engineering. We give you the elevations, and we'll try to work it out.
What about the status?
Get pissed at other people, but
Did we receive some money from FEMA for the back levee yet? The elevation since the storm Ida?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're still not in process with that. All right. What's the next one? The East Bank Pump Station, I know you've been working on that. So where we are with that? I know you're working
Yes,
very
sir.
hard.
I'll give you the list, the updated
Yeah.
list today. We did get Point LaHash back up with 1 motor. We're getting quotes to get the second motor and the pump fixed. That's the one that had the oxygen bottle in it on the north side. Bellevue, we got some information together this morning through some quotes to check on the chain drive. Them chain drives are
Expensive, huh?
they're expensive and they 50 years old, so we kind of checking to see to put a gearbox instead of a chain drive with a shaft on it. So Tony and Manu are gonna meet the fella out there next week, supposedly, and go over and see what kind of retrofit it would take.
Sound like replacement is needed, a whole new system. Think that old.
Wow.
Okay, I appreciate your efforts, though. Let me tell you, I'm doing this because the people want to know. That's why I'm asking this question at the meetings, because they do listen to the council meeting.
Okay.
The other one is Highway 15, anything relative to the, below Highway 15, the highway, still on status quo with that? Nobody have any answer, comment on that? All right, none. Okay, what's the status, Mardi Gras Pass? John, you have any new idea about Mardi Gras Pass? And something new?
No, we are working hand in hand with the Corps on
I know you are.
that experimental project, they call it. That's still in the process, and it's moving along at the Corps speed. That's the best I can tell you on it right now.
And I want to appreciate them cutting the Pontage Boat Harbor. Appreciate that very much. And I know the people will once you get it, we get it all down pat.
And we have most of the Reach C pipes are cleaned out. Half of them, 2/3 of them been inspected. And we're down to the last one before they start completely peeling those off.
Filling them in.
Right.
They're back in the facts, huh? Back in stack. All right, great news. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you. Scott, I also want to thank y'all for the Duvic pump station, 100% now.
Yes, sir, finally, it takes a while, but it is up and running 100%.
Thank
So
you.
we trying to get them all going.
Thank you. E District 7 update?
Y'all doing something, see that? Y'all went
Can you give us an update on the Old Suffolk Water Plant? Where we at?
Infomark is still working whenever they have an opportunity. We've had lots of main line breaks here in the last 2 weeks that they've been busy dealing with, but they're still working on testing pumps and equipment inside the plant. We recently got finished with the assessments on the fences, got approval from Rostan to move forward with getting the fencing put back up around that plant so we can hopefully keep some of these thieves out of the plant and they won't steal anything that we have in there anymore. The plant is still in the design phase. We have not gotten any preliminary designs yet on the electrical side of it. So we're still waiting on something from the design engineers to get us preliminary designs.
Super Bayou project?
Suzie Bayou project is in the land management acquisition. We should have the forms by the beginning of next week, Jacques. And they'll go out and get the right of entry signed. And then we go out for bid. Everything else is in place. We just have to have that right of entry signed off on. There's about 35 to 40 people that need to sign. They've been in contact with most of them, so we're finally getting to that point.
Okay, good. Discussion on Point Celeste Pump Station Road and dirt. Is it possible for us to get that road lifted? Especially during the hurricane, we had problem trying to get fuel to that pumping station back there.
Yes, right around, well, John was there. I was out at the time, but John just said that they just put about 3 foot of rock on it to raise it, to be able to get to the back. So, it's a lot of money to be putting that much rock on it, yes, sir.
We should be in better shape on that. When they were out there, they continuously added rock to the low points to bring us up to grade to where if it floods, pending the surge, should be passable to get back to the pumping station. That's where we left it at.
Mr. Russo?
Mr. Roussel?
In my discussions with Venture Global, they have offered us substantial amounts of fill to be able to help elevate that road or other areas that we can put the fill in. I'm not sure that that road is in good enough condition to get to the pump station. So if we get a storm and we can't get to it, I guess we'll know what the real situation is.
We'll get with Venture Global and check that out, yes.
Well, there's been discussion on Mr. LaFrance's part for some time about the amount of dirt that they are willing to give us. I'm not sure what the holdup is, but there's plenty of dirt there to be hauled, not only for that road purpose, but also for the borough pit by Ravenna Road, if that's what we choose. They are waiting on us to tell them where to haul it to, basically.
That's incorrect. I've had discussions with Mr. Burt. We're still waiting for them to tell us where. We're ready, okay? So that's incorrect. Mr. Burt, I said when you get the dirt, we'll have places to put it.
And we also need dirt.
Well, we can have this discussion offline, but my discussion was yesterday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I mean, when you come up here and you say that, I just want to clarify what
I
I
want to
know.
clarify what I said.
Okay, I'm clarifying what I say.
Thank you, Mr.
Well,
LaFrance.
also, I know we can stockpile some dirt, right there where we planning on putting the new ramp for the ferry, south of the, Post Alpha Water Plant.
Yes, sir, we'll check with Charlie in the morning and clarify those locations. I do know of one location that they looked at and they okayed with, and that's by the pond right north of Ironton on the left-hand side. So that's the only location that their team looked at and okayed to put dirt. But as of, he told us when we was crossing the ferry that they holding off and building up mounds in their area for the storm and wherever else they need dirt before they ship anything else out.
Okay,
And he told us that right when we crossed the ferry.
okay, good.
So,
All right,
but
thank
we'll
you.
get back up with him.
All right.
Thank you. One
Let
question.
you know when we get all those signatures done for, the Susie Bayou project. You know, we've been working on that for about 4 years now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes, sir, Mr. Koknovich. In discussing with the Parish Attorney's Office, the ordinance, let's see, which one was that? J. In discussion with the Parish Attorney's Office, they do think that they need a special effective date where the ordinance becomes effective upon signature rather than the ordinary process, which is 10 days after publication in the official journal. The process for doing that is someone on the prevailing side, which it was unanimous, would have to make a motion to reconsider the vote by which the matter passed. They would vote on that motion. Once you're reconsidering it, you could then amend the proposed ordinance to add the special effective date effective upon signature of the president, adopt that amendment, and then vote on the ordinance as amended.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to reconsider.
Mr. Black motions to reconsider, second by Mr. Albro. Any questions? Machines are open. Machines are open. Mr. LaFrance, Mr. Blink,
I want to
Mr.
know what we are reconsidering.
Well, it's a technical issue on the ordinance that we passed.
Our rules say it's gotta go, have the president's signature instead of the 30 days or 10 days.
If you want me to expound a bit, section 6.02 is the effective date of ordinances. The issue becomes if somebody gets, say grandfather and are caught up in that period between either the 10 days after it's been published or 30 days after adoption. But you can designate it immediately effective upon signature by the parish president, and that's what we're trying to do in this particular ordinance.
It passes 9-0. Now voting on the reconsideration, you wanna add?
Now, someone would need to make a motion to amend the proposed
You have to
ordinance.
read the preamble and I'll make a motion with changes. All the changes.
Read the
Make it
brief.
effective upon signature of the president.
An ordinance to amend and as amended to readopt section 7-23 of the Parish Code of Ordinances and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offer with changes.
Mr. Black offers with changes. Second by Mr. Alborough. Changes all.
To add an effective upon signature of the president.
On line
At the end of the ordinance.
on 16. And with that, I ask for any questions.
Repeat that again, effective what?
Effective on the parish
Upon
president's
signature of the parish president.
Which will be tomorrow.
Any other questions? Machines are open. It passes 9-0. And we go to F, District 5, update number 5.
Yes.
Flooding of West W Street and the impact of the bridge project.
Yes, Mrs. Haven's been sitting here for quite some time, and I apologize for us getting so late, but she has flooded, and she might want to come by and give us some comments, but this is a drainage project that's been in the works for at least 15 years. And you want to come up and give us some comments. This is a project that the bridge came in, the parish project stopped, well, basically. And you want to elaborate and
Sure. Yeah, Danielle Havnen, 108 West W Street. So we did just flood 48 hours ago. So it kind of revamped and lit a fire under me to kind of reach out to you as I usually do, Benny. But we have some major infrastructure issues. There's a hazard mitigation grant that I think dates back to '08 that's been on pause or been in the works for at least 10 years. And then it was paused either in 2017 or 2018 with the bridge project. Basically, our streets, West W and West X, have basically become the retention pond that really dates back probably 30 or 40 years. Benny, you know from your administration in the early 90s, a tractor pump. A tractor was installed at the end of our ditch that had to manually be turned on when we flooded. So usually that would occur with a parish truck driving through the flood, pushing water, turning on the tractor pump, and then the water would recede. So it's only effective when it's flooded. That tractor pump is now non-operational to my knowledge and has been for the last couple of years. I know, Mr. President, I've reached out to you and talked to you about grass cutting, which is critical for our ditches. So it's kind of ironic that it's a hot topic, but it's really been in disarray. This whole drainage system has not been maintained for years. So it kind of snakes and has a bunch of 90s and is supposed to naturally flow uphill to the Algiers outflow canal. So it's really critical for us. I know I see Dave here tonight, and I've talked with him a couple times about how the bridge is supposed to absorb some of this hazard mitigation grant. And I also understand that there's some deadlines rapidly approaching. So I'm really concerned. I mean, we've been flooding for I think 1994 is when I first started working on that street, and then in the late 90s purchased and have been a homeowner, a business owner, a residence. You know, we have elderly people, small children, you know, pets. This is a real concern. I mean, it's deep enough in the middle of the street that it's above my knees and cars will stall. So there's no means for emergency services. And now with the bridge project, the North Tunnel Service Road is no longer a viable means for an exit. So anybody who is exiting from the bridge and tries to turn onto West X Street and sees flooding, they often turn onto our street and are trapped before they realize they're flooded. We're also the emergency exit for the bridge for any oversized vehicles. So it's a huge concern, and we just want to make sure that everybody's talking. This is, I know, part of a lot of operations. There's FEMA. There's a lot of organizations that are involved. Trigon has done probably 4 surveys, or there have been 4 engineering surveys that have been conducted in the last 20 years that I know of. So we're really concerned. I've got a 92-year-old neighbor. I've got an 8-year-old neighbor. It should be a safety concern for everyone. It's really a nightmare. And I literally get out there and block the road with my vehicle and put out barricades myself because nobody can get out there within a timely manner. So I do have some pictures. I don't have a PowerPoint. I'm welcome to share any of that. I can email up. I've kind of had, 20 years of pursuing this. So I can provide any information. I just love some answers of how to move forward. We're desperate. There's a lot of businesses, a few residences, but this is the gateway to our parish. It's also, there's a couple of other issues that have gone on as probably vendor projects with the bridge, where we have a fire hydrant that has been open since at least December on our street, which also flows into, and has saturated that ground that goes into this drainage system. But there are trees that are growing in it. There is grass that is now fallen over from the rain, but it's taller than myself. It's taller than my F-150 truck. We reported it, and somebody did come and mow the stop sign with a weed eater. But this is critical, and I know there's been mention of weed killer in ditches and some of that, and that, in our opinion, is really not effective for this drainage system because it creates too much erosion. It really needs maintenance. So our lack of maintenance dates back decades and has been very severe in the last 5 years with this bridge project coming online. We've just been forgotten about. So I'd love some information. I know Dave has been working. I know Trigon has been asked for some information from the parish engineering department earlier today. Help us. We're literally drowning. It's a real concern for us.
So I do have a response from Mr. David Van Heswick, and I can read it quick, or you'd like to come up and make some comments, but we got a disconnect here is what we've got. We've got a project that she says that's many, many, many years old, and I don't know if anybody's on first base to be able to try to push this forward, but the purpose of this today, of putting it on the agenda, is to try to move it again. A couple of years back, I had a meeting with Trigon and Danielle and other people and thought the project was moving along. The bridge comes along and things seem to stop. And I'm reading this first thing. It says the bridge project includes some long-term drainage improvements for a 10-year storm design, but not on West W Street. So I don't know where the disconnect came about, because I was under the impression that the bridge was working with Trigon and the state DOTD to figure out and FEMA to figure out who was going to do what on that street, and nothing's happened for years now. So we need to re-engage all of these parties, and if you want to comment on it, Mr. President, go right ahead. But this project needs to be restarted.
Yes, Ms. Haven, we've got your emails, we got your pictures, we understand your concerns, and yes, I would like to get with you and sit down with all the parties and see where we're at and where we can and how we can move forward. It has had some problems or issues in the past that we didn't move forward, but as you know, those two streets are very critical because they're going to be access lanes for the new bridge. So I understand your concerns. Can you reach out to me in the morning?
Absolutely.
And then we'll set something up, we'll get something together.
Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. LaFrance?
Would you like to say anything, Mr. Davis?
We got 15 minutes to make the ferry.
Well, I'll be finished in a minute. Y'all can,
Yeah, but we still got 4 other items.
not for me.
Not for you, no.
Yes,
Nobody's excused until I'm ready.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
my name is Dave Van Heeslik with Plenary Infrastructure, overseeing the new bridge construction, babysitting the old bridge and tunnel as well. The only thing I want to add to what Mr. Roussel has is, and I believe everybody got a copy of it as well, is that we have been working with the Department of Transportation, and only as a contractor for it. We don't really have any information as far as the total entailment of this program, but because of the discussions we've had ongoing for the last year and a half, we're into a position where we have to make a call or have to renegotiate pricing and logistics as well. So that's the urgency that she was referring to. We're good till the end of the month, so that's, at that point, then our contractor will have to
So I guess
confirm everything.
the issue is that we have to have a meeting immediately to discern what y'all are going to do and DOTD is going to do and FEMA's going to do, correct?
Yes.
So I would hope that the meeting's called, if you would get your staff together and representative from the engineering firms and the FEMA people together and have a meeting early next week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I said we'll set up a meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're just the contractor on site. As I said, the department, the Plaquemine Parish and FEMA group.
Yeah, but let me say this. Early on in the process with the bridge, I had engaged with the engineering firm as well as Ms. Habnan, and we were under the impression that Plenary was going to take over part of that drainage. They were talking about $600,000-$700,000 difference, and they were juggling money back and forth about who was going to pay what cost to do what we needed to do to get it from a 10-year to 25-year, whatever. And that dropped through the hole, evidently, because nothing's happened and she's still flooding. And I thought that project was well on its way, but it didn't move. So,
Any other questions or anything I can help?
No, thank you. G, District 6 update, Ms. Newberry?
Hey, Scott, any update on the Oakville PLC? When you think you'll be receiving the part that station?
We're still waiting on the firm,
But you have no,
Rouse firm to get the part in. And I'll get an update again tomorrow morning from Tony.
yeah, if we can just get some type of date on when we expecting
We
the,
gotta go turn the generator on to run the pumps, but it does run.
yeah.
okay?
Well, if we
gotta
can get an
run it by
update on
generator power right now.
the part, and when we're looking at that date on receiving that part to get that thing, to get the pumping station 100% running.
Yeah, it's electronic. We'll get, as soon as they get it to us.
We just keep talking about it. I figured you might have some kind of update.
No, not yet.
Thank you.
Thank you. H, discussion about Taco. I, an announcement to inform the public that an ordinance to levy millages on 2022 tax roll on all properties subjection to taxation by Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto will be offered for a vote at Thursday, July 28, 2022 meeting to be held in Point of Ash Courthouse. And this doesn't levy any new taxes, right? It's just a renewal.
Well,
Huh?
and this announcement is a requirement of the statute that you have a formal announcement at a meeting of when at the subsequent meeting the millages are going to be considered.
Oh, since nobody knows, Jay, discussion of Walker Road, Don Valley.
Mr. Chairman, I realize we have to get this.
Well, I could defer it and put it on the next meeting. Yes, sir. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by everybody, second by everybody. Machine's open.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Randy.
Councilmember
Mr. Black, who stepped out.
Got to vote.
Oh, they hear Valley about
And we adjourned at 6:47 PM.